Alright, what's up, y'all? Welcome. This top does not fit me correct. There's airplane noise where there is, it is what it is. This is about the documentation, as these are. It's hard for me to speak in this top, though, truly. I mean, that's the point of this video. This title is Oversized Tops and the Collarbones. We'll get into it, okay? This is the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, where we allow the human body to work. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today is the 12th of December, 2025. I'm out here in a farm field. I'm on the side of the road, really, but there's fields. I love it. The goal is natural on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company, and naturally, there's a natural position to the collarbones. We talk about this. We're going to get into it. I'll talk about each of the other three sides of In The Image Clothing Company in here where I do. Okay, But here's the point. I feel out of it. I feel spaced out. I feel like I'm being pulled on, because I am. We talk about where clothing sits under In The Image Clothing Company for everybody. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be. You're just a human being. Okay? And tops sit where the top seams are evenly behind the peak of the shoulders, and the edge seams as close as we can get to the edge of the shoulders. The collarbones are the peak of the shoulder, okay? These collarbones, they come from the sternum in the center of the body. They come up and out to the peak of the shoulder, and that peak bone of the top of the shoulder is just that one end of the collarbone, the other end from where it comes down into the sternum. And when our shoulders move, they're just pivoting on this collarbone. You can see my bone here, okay? My collarbone protruding through this oversized hoodie top, okay? You can, right? You can. Let me see if I can see it through here so you can tell. That's my bone right there, right? That's just a bone, the collarbone, and that is the shoulders positioning. Okay, we talk about the natural scapula position, a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here. The scapulas are the shoulder blades, the big bones on the upper back, okay? They have a natural position, okay? Up and down, front and back, rotations as well, okay? There's only one neutral, natural, and normal position to everything in the human body. That's how we allow the body to work here on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. That's our slogan, right? Allowing the body to work. Since the 23rd of September 2024, there's only one way the human body could ever work. Just being a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space is just what it is. There's just motion in everything that there's motion in. It's a mechanical machine, which means a machine of motion. And there's just a full range of motion. Yeah, okay, so we can't actually stretch the body. We can't train to anything like a neutral. There's a center to gravity. There's a center line to the human body. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizing the entire body. It has to stay in the center. We put a lot of focus on the jaw. And we have feet arches down at the base. Hold on. For the sake of the noise. Down at our foundation, those feet grip arches inward, opposing the center line of the body, and that's what keeps us vertical. Okay. There's a neutral to rotations in the forearms, internal rotation, neutral, external rotation. Okay, from those thumbs at the neutrals, from our fingertips up to our elbows, in those two bones in the forearms with their rotations. The entire arms, I showed this a minute ago here. Neutral with the thumbs up, internal rotation, back to neutral, external rotation. And this is the same in the lower legs. Neutral with that pinky toe straight forward. Internal rotation, back to neutral, pinky toe straight forward. And then external rotation, back to neutral. The entire leg, there's a neutral, pinky toe straight forward. Internal rotation, back to neutral with that pinky toe straight forward. And then external rotation from there and back to neutral. There's just only one way the human body could ever work. It's actually legitimately, physically, mechanically impossible to train it to do anything. You just can't train to a neutral. You can't train to a neutral center of gravity where your fingertips, which are your shoulders, will just hang down. Okay. You can't train to a neutral to internal versus external rotation. You can't train to a neutral like the wrist when it can drop down or it can come up. There's only one way, okay? There is only one way the hands work. There is only one way the feet work. The feet only work barefooted. These are a few videos that I made down in beautiful St. George, Utah, where we're based. I just need to move down there. I'm currently in Utah County, Utah, and we live up Utah, as in the Image Clothing Company. Hold on. We do it as we do, right? Blunt, bold, raw, and real for the sake of being real, authentic, you know? Wind noise, airplanes in this town. There is an airport. As long as I'm still in Spanish Fork. Anyway, it's right over here, just a few miles from where I am. Car noise, surrounding sounds of human beings and dogs and whatever is happening, okay? Like this. And also like this other truck as well. Oversized clothing makes life hard. That's a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. I get it. I understand it's noisy. I get it. I do it intentionally. I could film these anywhere. Okay? Inside, where there's basically no noise at all. Potentially. It's a possibility. But oversized clothing makes life hard. What we talk about a lot with that specifically is the skin of the body. The same skin on the tip of the head is the same skin on the tip of the fingers or the toes. If our shoulders are not in their neutral height position, which is determined by that collarbone pivoting on the sternum, then we're pulling down on the skin of our shoulders. It's actually the skin on the top of the head. And our jaw, stabilizing our entire body, needs to stay closed. Okay? Meaning be able to be closed. The importance of even jaw musculature. Eating and drinking with the left hand. These are videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company to, focus on keeping the jaw centered. The left hand could just be your non-dominant hand, but we live in a right-handed world. 85%, give or take, of human beings are right-handed. We get into this right-handed patterning. More external with the rotations on the right side, farther away from our bodies, dropped, and the musculature just is being pulled on. And the jaw is the shoulder. Okay? Directly. So here's the thing, okay? Keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. The human body only pulls. These are videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company as well. Also filmed down in beautiful St. George, Utah. The human body only pulls. There's opposing muscles. Just like the feet arches oppose the center line to grip inward, you have to pull from one side against another side to have an even center line, right? One foot gripping against the other foot's grip, and there's a center line to the body, there's a center line to gravity. The human body only pulls, there's opposing muscles. Even what seems like a push is actually just pulling two endpoints of a muscle on the backside of a function together, okay? Then we can extend a hinge joint by pulling. So, the collarbones. This is big. This is a size medium, as far as I know. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it would have to be with the sleeve length. It's a size medium. These hoodie designs at this time period are absolutely terrible when it comes to the edge seams of the shoulders. They're so ridiculously oversized. We have a joint here, the shoulder. The humerus is the upper arm bone. The collarbone is called the clavicle. And then the scapula, often called shoulder blades. There's one of those things on each side of the body. The human body only pulls, airplanes fly. 2 facts. And here comes a car again. Okay. I'll give the airplane just a, little bit of time here to get just slightly less loud in the microphone of this device, for the sake of being able to hear my words slightly easier as I speak them. Discussing oversized tops and the collarbones. Musculature connects from the outside of the shoulder into the center of the body at the sternum in the front. evenly on both sides. Tops are like a cage for the shoulders. That's how we discuss it. Under In the Image Clothing Company, we want our tops to just lock our shoulders in place because this musculature is evenly only pulling and to the center line from each side of the body. On the rear of the body, musculature connects from the outside of the shoulder into the spine in the center, evenly on both sides. So tops have to be like a cage for the shoulder, just meaning right at the very edges of those shoulders joints is where the shoulder seams should be. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work, and this doesn't allow it to happen. This maroon looking blended material top that I'm currently wearing that's got shoulder seams much wider than my shoulders seam. They're essentially seams of the shoulder, right? They're essentially joints of clothing, or we could say they're joints of the shoulder and seams of the clothing. There's only one way the human body could ever work, though, and this doesn't allow it to happen. This is the point. When we move our shoulders, what we're really doing is pivoting on the collarbone. And I said that, a minute or two ago here, but let's talk about it a little bit deeper, because if you just feel this bone connecting from right at the base of your neck, which is the top of your sternum, which is the center of your ribs in the front, and then it comes out and it comes up and it goes out here to the peak of the edge of the shoulder, where the humerus or the upper arm bone comes and meets it, and the acromion or the top of the scapula comes and meets and forms a joint that we call the shoulder capsule. Okay. If you just feel this collarbone and just, move your shoulder around, well, there's a neutral height. That's what I mean. The natural scapula position, a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. There's only one neutral to everything in the body. No opinion, no way you can train to it, because to have two sides to something, you just rest and reside in the center. It's like a vehicle, you drive forward or you drive backward, and between there you can have the car in neutral and it'll just roll whichever way it's going to if it's on a hill. The human body is always on Earth's gravity, but there's a neutral to the functionality of the body. Those collarbones, man, they got to be able to be in their neutral location always. They have to. There's only a neutral. And to have functioning, they have to reside in their neutral. This is what happens. We've got a muscle called the upper trapezius muscle. You can probably see it here. Okay? It connects from the top and rear part of the shoulder, across the top and rear part of the shoulder, to the spine of the neck, which is called the cervical spine, and then up to the very base of the rear of the skull, right off the edge of the spine. And this happens on both sides of the body, and that's the muscle that really allows us to shrug our shoulders, lift the shoulders up, okay? There's an upper trapezius, a mid trapezius, and a lower trapezius muscle. It connects from those scapulas to the spine. Each of the three trapezius, like I said earlier, muscles connect from the outside of the shoulders into the center line of the body at the spine. Well, they really connect from, more like the inside of the scapulas, these upper trapezius specifically, but from the outside of the body to the inside of the body, okay? The human body only pulls. There is a center line. There is Earth's gravity we have to always deal with, and that's really a lot of what we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company when we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth, when we allow it to work, when we come at it through clothing and give a lot of free modifications in clothing where you wouldn't ever have to purchase In the Image Clothing Company clothing, or In the Image Clothing Company poodles, dog products that apply to all dogs. But free modifications in clothing, In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification, In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. We have a lot of free modifications. I just mentioned a couple most common. There are a couple of the biggest ones, okay? Impact-wise, you don't have to care about clothing or fashion by any means. We're not about fashion. We're about the human body and its physical functionality, just being the machine that it is, as in the Image Clothing Company. But, even if you don't care or don't care to try to even care, these things are affecting you if they're happening in your life. We live in a modern man-made world, and there's just a lot of terrible designs nowadays things that didn't exist in the past, stretch in clothing, didn't exist just decades back before today's date. These materials that it comes with, right, that bring stretch with them, they got invented. They're unnatural, artificial, and those are synonyms with fake. And the goal is natural. Not only on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, but we discuss eating, sleeping, standing, walking, breathing, sitting, sleeping, standing and walking and breathing and eating and hydration. We discuss the natural position to the collarbones, scapulas, and oversized tops are damaging those things. But when we eat things, we have to eat naturally because that's the only way we grow. We are only what we have eaten. Okay. If you eat anything unnatural, well, it didn't exist just a few decades ago, really. I mean, when we get down to it from today's date back. But your body has to use energy to process that stuff through it, and then it can't extract anything from it, and so it's just damaging to the body. Okay. Anyway, the problem with the collarbones is nothing. There's nothing wrong with your body. If you got an amputation, a deformity, a birth defect, or major surgery that you've had happen to you, or anything that's altered your body quite a bit or just a little bit, sets you apart quite a bit or just a little bit, that's fine. There's a universal human design. There's only one way the human body could ever work. In all of our situations, we have to get as close as we can to the only way the human body could ever work to have it work the best, right? But we've got our individuality. Individualistic situations. We are individuals and individually different than everybody else who also is, okay? Here comes a truck. But the point is, okay, we have to get our bodies to be able to work to the best of what we personally can. Your body's shaped how your body's shaped. Your body's the size that your body is. And clothing has to fit. I told you where tops sit. And the reason why the top seams sit behind the peak of the shoulders is because our shoulders connect behind our head with those upper trapezius. Actually, like the very, very base of the very, very rear of the skull and the spine is where the insertions are. Okay, to that upper trapezius muscle. And the mid trapezius, the lower trapezius as well, it's on the spine, which is behind the head. Because the spine comes up and connects to the very rear of the head. The shoulders only ever work behind the head. But what happens is our collarbones are what's determining our shoulders positioning, bone-wise, right? We're just pivoting on this collarbone from the sternum here, out to the edge of the shoulder. It's just a bone. Okay? I love this. This is the point. Is the edge seams of our tops need to be right at the very edges of our shoulders, as close as we can get. If we're doing things in life, and now all of a sudden we've got this joint of the material like 2, 3, 4 inches off of our shoulder edge, when we're pivoting at the collarbone's end point, which is really what I mean by right at the very edge of the shoulder, is just right where the end of that collarbone is, really. Okay? Because that is the edge of the shoulder. That's the shoulder joint. The airplane noise, I understand. I understand. I get it. I understand. I get it. Our shoulders only ever work behind our head, but if our clothing isn't pivoting at our shoulder's edge, then as we move, the clothing's pivoting clear over here, off of the end of the shoulder, where the seam is if it's oversized. Now when we move and reach our arms forward, we're pulling our whole shoulder, we're pulling our whole scapula, we're pulling our whole upper trapezius muscle forward and elongating it way farther than it should ever go. Muscles only contract, the human body only pulls. And the endpoints of the two areas where it's pulling together are behind the shoulder, along that scapula back there, on our back there, okay? and then up to the spine and to the base of the rear of the skull. So the muscle of the upper trapezius is really the muscle that's ever going to raise our shoulders or just even support our shoulders vertically. There's other muscles. There's little muscles up in the jaw. There's the sternocleidomastoid muscle, but they don't do the same function. They don't. Everything in the body has its own individualistic role to play, okay? There's no compensation that can be had within the human being. It really can only ever work activated as a whole. It's all there. It's all got its own role to play, okay? So what happens is if we have oversized tops, it's causing our upper trapezius muscle to just be pulled on, and its endpoint starts back here behind the peak of the shoulder at the low end, and then up here at the very base of the rear of the skull at the upper end. And now you're not pulling up in line if your shoulders are in front of your body. The shoulders only ever work behind the head. No matter what you think your body is shaped like, we're talking about a universal skeletal system. Nothing to do with posture as opposing muscles. Pectorals, pull forward. Trapezius, pull backward. There's a neutral scapula position, front to back. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's your clothing. Clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. In these ways that we discuss it, it truly is. There's no opinion. I mean, if I didn't have a clothing company, it would be the same discussion. I don't have a sales pitch. I just am discussing the truth of God. Designed in the image of God, Jesus Christ himself, is our bodies. In the Image Clothing Company, our 5-word company name. Y'all ready for this or what? I'm in this for life, right? This is a big thing. This affects everybody. You don't have to care to care. It also affects your dogs. I'll discuss that if I do. In the Image Clothing Company poodles. I'll do it right now. We specialize in purebred standard poodles. We give information that applies to all dogs on letting dogs stay natural. The same thing as allowing the human body to work. We let dogs stay natural by discussing them the way we discuss human beings. And collars, leashes, and harnesses need to stay centered and fit correct because they're essentially dogs' clothing. Anything that clothes the human body or the body of the dog is clothing the human body or the body of the dog. So, a lot of free modifications in things, as we say and show, under In the Image Clothing Company for clothing and dog products. But, InTheImageClothingCompany.com, good clothing, staying centered, fitting correct, and being made in all the ways that we can from 100% natural materials. That's how we allow our bodies to work. Okay, and we get in depth with things. I mean, we really discuss the anatomy deeply. That word was anatomy, by the way. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. We know what we're talking about, so don't believe us. Truth is truth. Don't believe me. Don't believe In the Image Clothing Company. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. I am in this for life, but just because we know what we're saying doesn't mean you just blindly believe it. Okay? Please. But here's the point. So many people in modern day have what they call bad posture. There's no such thing as posture. There's opposing muscles. The ankles bend backwards, the knees bend forward. The hips bend backwards, the lower backs bend forward. The lower backs do. All of them. Wow. Okay. Give or take. The mid-back bends backward. The upper spine, which is the cervical spine or the neck, bends forward. The body just snakes up and down where it does. But the body snakes front to back with its activation on Earth's gravity because there's opposing muscles. There's front bends and back bends alternating. Okay? There's opposing muscles. The abdominal muscles and the hamstrings contracting to posteriorly tuck the pelvis. The lower back muscles and the quadricep muscles contracting to anteriorly rotate the pelvis. There's a neutral on Earth's gravity to the pelvis position. There's a neutral to everything. Because there's oppositions in all things. There's opposition in all things. Everything has an opposite. I mean, this is a scientific kind of thing, too. You don't have to believe in anything. We have In the Image Clothing Company podcast. 1/4 of In the Image Clothing Company is In the Image Clothing Company podcast. We have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. We're on episode 190 as of last night. You don't have to be religious, though. You don't have to believe in anything. Truth is truth. We're all here. The same thing, a human being, placed on the same earth, designed by one God. It is what it is. Life is what it is. We can have all of our opinions that we'd like to on something, but that thing has to first be there. So there's truth, and then there's opinions that could come, but also we can just throw them in the trash. I'm just as human as anybody else, but I do know God. We discuss Jesus Christ as he says that he is. We're imperfect, and we just don't understand anything perfectly, but God is perfect, and so that's, the goal is to get closer to God, the one who created us and this whole life we have. Sounds like a pretty good thing to me. That's why I do it. That's why I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. That's why I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There's only one way the human body could ever work. I know what I'm talking about here, about this at least. Don't believe me, but it's the truth, because this is the point. People think they have bad posture. You don't have bad posture. There's nothing wrong with your body. I had bad posture. How does that work? My body was in a terrible position for a long time. It was really, really, really bad. But we're just on Earth's gravity, and we're just placing clothing on our bodies. Shoelaces, drawstrings, they're just ropes introduced to the body. Any kind of ropes. Anywhere on the body. Oversized clothing like I'm discussing here. Okay? Imbalances in clothing. And these things, they really get our bodies into chronic patterning, and scar tissue gets built up. We also live in this right-handed world. We also just don't know how to eat and stand and walk and sleep and do all these things naturally, because there's a lot of things we didn't have to deal with in the past as human beings that we just do now. Okay? Because of this, we can get what's called bad posture. Tags in clothing. One of our two prerequisites, because we do have two prerequisites, in addition to just where we discuss clothing sits for everyone. Removing all tags from clothing is one of our two prerequisites, as in the Image Clothing Company, because they didn't even exist just decades ago from today's date. They're causing either a physical gap, changing the body's only working position, and or they're just not allowing musculature to activate. The human body only works activated as a whole. Anywhere all of you goes, anywhere all of you goes. Wow, we can say it like that. Normally I say anywhere any of you goes, all of you comes. Okay. Animals, their whole bodies just work well, except for the dogs and cats and domesticated things, and even the wild ones we put tracking collars on for research. Okay, keeping collars centered, that's the point. So yeah, that's the point, right? Allowing the body to work, letting dogs stay natural. In the Image Clothing Company, that's two of our sides and what we really do there. The slogans for them, at least. So, where was I? Bad posture. We just talk about how to not have that, and that it doesn't really exist, but it's just a position your body's stuck into. If you don't have both sides of your body's functioning, we're just stuck on one side of our body's functioning, then it'll just, have problems. So oversized tops, they really just don't allow those collarbones to pivot naturally, because you'll be trying to pivot at the edge of your shoulder, because that's the only place your shoulder can mechanically pivot. There's just three bones meeting there, and they just move how they do. But the clothing needs to move how your body moves, otherwise, your body can't move. That's what it's meant to do. It's a machine. That means motion, movement, mechanics. We word things as how blank affects body mechanics, the mechanical operations of the human being. We've just got bones connecting to bones through ligaments with cartilage between them, just cushioning them. And then muscles just connect to the bones through tendons to just, move the bones. The only reason we need muscles is because there's a skeletal system to move. The human body is just about its skeletal system's positioning. This is no approach or no claim, no new information. This is just God's design since the beginning. The human body was designed by God to work. It was designed in the image of God to work. And it just would if we didn't place clothing onto it to not allow it to work. If we didn't just place our bodies into modern man-made worlds with positions where our musculature is just being damaged, not able to activate, like sitting in chair heights with weight on our hamstrings, those big muscles on the rear of the upper legs. We wouldn't do these things naturally, but we just have the world structured the way it is, and it wasn't like this before. No approach, no opinion. We just discuss it as it is. In the Image Clothing Company, okay? So those collarbones, man, and I've talked about it. You know, we've got videos where I've discussed the collarbones quite a bit. The natural position for them. We've got a video titled How Clothing Causes Tight Pectoral Muscles. And really the point is, if we're not intentional about having our clothing sit in the correct locations. But if we're moving in life and we're doing things in front of us, because that's where we see with our eyes, that's the direction we normally walk is forward. That's where our feet point, that's how our hands open, and that's really how we bend at the hips. As we're doing things forward in life, our tops will just fall forward in life. There's gravity to Earth, and it affects our clothing as much as it affects us. And our clothing's placed on us. So now we've got the seams falling in front of our shoulders, and our shoulders only ever work behind our head because that's just where they mechanically connect. No opinion. No new information is the truth. What's also true is that people have been dealing with this since the beginning of time. Well, anyway, since Adam. I don't know about the beginning of time necessarily. The first man, though, was always dealing with this once he put clothing on his body. Truly, I mean, that's real. Adam sinned, you know, he partook of the tree of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. The fruit from the tree is actually what he partook of. And then he put clothing on, okay? Anytime anybody's ever worn clothing, it doesn't matter what it's made out of. It matters what clothing's made out of. Ideally 100% natural materials, right? These materials that are synthetic and stretchy didn't even exist in the past. Stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way muscles could ever work. Muscles only contract. The human body only pulls. Okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. And so this is the big point with the oversized tops and the collarbones. Earth's gravity. And we do things in front of our bodies. And as we do, we're pulling our clothing. I mean, just look. I reach forward. Not only does my arm go forward, my clothing comes forward as well. Okay. So if we have our clothing coming forward, when it's got, you know, seams on our shoulders, and it's just sitting on our shoulders with Earth's gravity, we'll wait for this car just for a second. Then, since the very top peak part of our shoulder is where we're actually pivoting with the motion, at that end of the collarbone, from the other end, in the center of the body, at the sternum. Because, I mean, look at this. It's like it comes from the center out, and we pivot. It comes from the center out, and we pivot. On both sides. It's like there's these sticks, just like, oh, look at this. It's like you're rowing a boat. And you in the center holding the oars of the boat is like the sternum of the body. And your hands are like the insertion of the collarbone to the sternum. When your hands are holding the, what do you call them? Paddles? Oars? Of the boat. The other end, out at the other end of the paddles or the oars of the boat, and by the way, it's harder to speak with oversized clothing, much harder. How clothing affects speaking is a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Wow, yeah, it's harder to speak than normal for me, because normally, at least nowadays at least, I wear clothing that fits. I'm the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Allowing the body to work comes through clothing fitting. Clothing has to fit. I'm a lyricist. In the Image Clothing Company music is another one of our forths where we do a lot of rhythm and poetry, spoken word. Show the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the body and keep that neutral wrist, the rounding in our hands as well. We talk about fingers and toenails just in all aspects of life, cut relatively flat on the tips, fully to the tips of the fingers, supporting them and backing them, and the toes. And then we don't roll out of that neutral wrist position. We'll check that out. Talk about oversized clothing, oversized tops specifically, and the collarbones. Well, if you don't have fingernails backing your fingers, your shoulder's just going to be dropped anyway. And you're just going to feel like it makes more sense to wear oversized clothing. This truck is doing a burnout. Okay. So that's the point, right? Where grip strength really comes from, another video I filmed down in St. George, Utah. It comes from the hands, but it really starts at the shoulder, and really the shoulder is the spine, and really before we get to the spine, the shoulder is the foot, just because we're on Earth's gravity, and that's the lowest point. Okay. So, there you go. With a discussion of that for now. Wow, how fast would you like to go until you die? Wow. Slow down a bit in life in general. That's why our videos are long. Anyway, there's, a lot of reasons to it, but yeah, I mean, we give a lot of information here under In the Image Clothing Company freely too, and eternal, universal stuff that never changes, okay? That's the point. To just speak things as they are, the truth, the same yesterday, today, and forever. God, Jesus Christ himself. Jesus Christ is God. Check this out. Those collarbones. Yeah, you've got to have fingernails and toenails just to have your body operate. Okay, that's a big point. We discuss that a lot under In the Image Clothing Company. But also, check out episode 190 of In the Image Clothing Company if you'd like to. It was a cool one last night. I'll wait for this truck and we'll get to, further saying what I'm saying here. If you don't have fingernails long enough to just support your fingers, your shoulders will just roll forward anyway. Okay, now look at my jaw. There's only one way the human body could ever work. There's only one neutral position to the jaw, stabilizing the entire body, okay? But this is a big point. We've got things that correlate with other things. No nails on your fingers, or at least not long enough. Your shoulders are already going to come forward. Now you're wearing oversized clothing because that's just going to sit on your body in the position with your shoulders coming forward. But the shoulders only ever work behind the head. It's just where they mechanically connect. Okay? But on In the Image Clothing Company music, we do rhythm and poetry, lyricism, spoken word, singing, guitar playing, a lot of good things like that, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages in the music. Okay? So, yeah, this is a big thing, man. The collarbone angle. It's just what's determining the shoulder position. Like I'm saying, you're rowing the boat. There you are with the oars in your hands. The other end of the oars out at the water end that's actually propelling you through the water. Okay? That's the peak of the collarbone, up at the shoulder edge where it's meeting the scapula and the humerus. Shoulder blade and the upper arm bone, okay, are other names for those same things. So, yeah, it's from the center out, okay, always, with Earth's center of gravity, with the body's center line. And when I discussed that video, when I referenced that video, how clothing causes tight pectoral muscles really is just if our shoulders aren't sitting evenly behind the peak of our shoulders, the position of our collarbone will just do this, right? Let's say this shoulder seam's in front. Well, the shoulder's just going to follow the shoulder seams because Earth's gravity is just pulling down on the clothing and it's just having a meshing of the front material and the back material at the seam of the shoulder. And so now our collarbone just comes forward, shortens the distance of this pectoral muscle that connects from the collarbone to the sternum and from the shoulder to the sternum, right? There's a upper and a lower pectoral muscle on the front, but there's opposing muscles, and on the rear there's trapezius. There's other muscles as well, but there's only one way the human body could ever work. We wear clothing. We just do, and it's great. We have to. A lot of times we'd freeze to death, for example. You know, yeah. We'll wait for the truck. Thank you for this video. I love this. I love being able to do this. This is amazing. Okay, I am in this for life, and these are our foundational documentations at this time period. A little over 14 months, 14 and a half months, give or take, as of right now. Me saying this on today's date, the 12th of December 2025, into the founding of In The Image Clothing Company. Okay, but we'll have a team. In The Image Clothing Company's team, we'll have poodles, purebred standard poodles, down there in St. George, Utah. We'll have a building for our clothing to be shipped out from, and for us to film a lot of things in and do a lot with the poodles. Okay, we do so much under the gift of video, and we always will. I call it the gift of video because of this video's explanation right here, as one of the examples for why it's a gift. This is an eternal documentation. That's what I mean. No matter who it is, anywhere, ever, at any time period, if you place anything on your body you call clothing, there's a lot of things we discussed that needs to be intentional, because there's only one way the human body could ever work. No claim. Don't believe me, though. But we discuss it so deeply there's no possible dispute, and that's the point. It's documented under the gift of video. Now, okay, after we've done so, and then we go the rest of our lives as In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. That's just the title I give myself for this, right? But the leader of this for life. And now we just always can reference people back to any video we've ever made in the past, okay? And that's great, because then we don't have to re-say things over and over and over and over again. We can reference you to a video, and I can have you watch this if you'd like, and there you go. Now you know, right? Because we're moving in life, and well, the collarbone doesn't just pivot forward and back, but it pivots up and down. When these upper trapezius muscles contract, they pull from the outside of the shoulder into the spine. So, well, and the base of the rear of the skull. So they're pulling up and in. And how's that happening? Because mechanically we have to be supported structurally with a bone, and that's the collarbone. It's pivoting. Watch this. When the shoulder comes up, it also comes in. When the collarbone comes up, it also comes in. It's just pivoting on a bone. Oh my gosh. You go too far down though, and it's just, you're collapsing your rib cage, you know. You have to raise your collarbone to open your ribs. Ooh, now you can breathe. You should be able to breathe. You have to. It's the essence of human life. It's one of the biggest things we discuss, you know, not altering, I guess. Well, as in the Image Clothing Company, within the body. Breath, you know, you just have to have a neutral scapula position, a neutral collarbone angle and height, which is the same thing, because the collarbone, the scapula, and the humerus, which is just the arm, are the shoulder, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. I don't have an opinion on this, or a startup company, but I am in this for life. And it's so cool because we have poodle parade events. Bring your poodles, purebred of any size, and or mixed poodles of any size, here to the state of Utah, or wherever we go. Arizona and Nevada are so close to St. George, Utah. St. George, Utah is right on the very southern border of Utah, okay? But we'll span the state of Utah. We'll go wherever we do, really, with poodle parade events. We'll get people into nature and get dogs into nature, get people rooted and grounded, and just have a good time together. Don't come for us. Don't come for Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Don't come for In The Image Clothing Company's team, but come to have a good time. Come for the experience and the reasons we're having the events, okay? And we'll make it clear. We've got subcategory events of poodle parades, which is just one of the events we do as all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. Clean the creek, rid the rubbish, specific subcategory poodle parade events and similar things like this. We do things for the environment. We do a lot here It's like I'm leading music, you know. It's how I feel sometimes. Like I'm a conductor. A chorister? Not necessarily like a train conductor. Anyway, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, and the video did not restart just then, but I am the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, and this is the whole thing. You just have to have your clothing fitting you correct, because if your collarbones are not in their natural, neutral, and normal sitting location, just the only way the human body could ever work, your upper trapezius muscles are being excessively elongated if your collarbone is excessively forward. Your pectoral muscles are being excessively shortened if your collarbone is excessively forward. And this is all being determined by what's physically placed onto your body, because your body would work within your own individual situation to the degree that it just would without something placed onto it to alter it. Gravity. I mean, gravity is the biggest, is one of the biggest. The gravity is such a huge point. We just deal with gravity. Check this out, though. I go to reach, and I'm doing things like this. Look at the shoulder seams. Look at my body being pulled on here. Look at me not being able to reach across my body because the seam of the material placed on me isn't where my shoulder joint is. And so it actually just drops my collarbone and pulls it forward, because really the shoulders only ever work behind the head. Look at the difference. I go to reach here, whoa, and the clothing is just oversized and it's pulling me. My shoulder really would reach back here, behind my head. People can't get full elbow extension, right? The importance of even elbow extension, a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. Mind the Gap, an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, but also, you know, we just talk about it in life. Mind the gap between us and God. That kind of sneaks in there at times. Easily, actually, very easily it can. But mind the gap between your own side and your own side. The inside of your arm and your rib cage, or the inside of your arm and your natural waist. Keeping elbows at the natural waist. A video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here. We have to keep our natural waist natural. Wait, let's talk about where pants sit. You don't have to wait anymore, because I'll say it right now. Pants sit entirely above the hips. We have what's called a natural waist, where we bend side to side at the spine, where my hands are right now, internally rotated at the forearms and the shoulders, essentially. Well, not really, actually, just mostly the forearms. And yeah, above the hip bones, but below those lowest ribs, that is our natural waist, where we bend side to side at the spine. We can't actually bend side to side at the hips because we have feet on the ground, Earth's gravity, okay? So, wow, you'd have to lift a leg off the ground to bend side to side at the hips. We bend side to side at the spine, at the natural waist. So our pants sit there, okay, above the hips, below the lowest ribs, slightly higher in the front than the rear, because just to keep our pelvis neutral with its forward to back rotations, posterior versus anterior rotations on Earth's gravity, we can't have our pant waistline pulling on our bodies. So it sits slightly higher in the front than the rear, which is, you know, not all that common to have just happen in modern design of clothing. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just a mechanical machine, okay? So I'm gonna take my hoodie off and you'll see my shirt that I have on underneath it. And it fits better by a lot, okay, than this one. Just watch when I reach. Watch when I move my arms. Watch my hips being pulled from my shoulders because ideally I'd be here. Watch this. Ideally, really, you're right about here, and now you can just move your own arm. Whoa, what the holy ranges of motion? Is this guy stretch? No. The human body only pulls. I'm gonna take this off. Watch this. Well, the point is, look at this. We've got like 3-4 inches of length more than we would ideally have. on the edge seams of this hoodie top, you know, in the way that it fits me personally. And look how big the armpit is as well. I mean, it's like clear down there. And so as you're trying to reach, it's just pulling your whole scapula. I mean, that's really the point. The scapula, the collarbone, the upper arm bone, or the shoulder. This collarbone will be affected by what the scapula does. And if the scapula is just being pulled because all the material back here is just pulling on the scapula instead of pivoting right where that edge of that scapula is, and the acromion up here, talk about trains, I did earlier. Anyway, yeah, so the scapula, if it moves, the collarbone will move. They meet at the same location, you know? They determine each other's positioning. Wherever the scapula goes, the collarbone has to, because they're connected through muscles, and they meet at the endpoints, you know, where the bones are. And then the entire arm as well, down to the hand and, you know, out to the fingertips, is also directly determined by where that scapula positioning is, and that scapula position is altered and affected by oversized tops. Okay, so here I am, still, you know, but now I'm in a single shirt only, and I don't have the hoodie over top of it. Okay, and so here I stand, still on the side of this road in Utah County, still having airplanes fly overhead. Hold on, please, if you would, for your sake. I mean, this information applies to you. That's the point. Don't do this for me. Don't like think you're just supporting my company. You're supporting my company, truly, but it's helping you is the point of my company, if we're calling it my company, you know. Anyway, what I'm saying is, stick around. I'm gonna wait till it's a little bit quieter. There's another car right here. It's cool to say like that, though. I mean, that's why you'd watch these videos, is for your benefit. Well, I mean, I guess it's probably pretty well understood, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not just trying to make like profit and gain and just have a successful company for the sake of money. We're here to change people's lives, right? It applies to everybody, because everybody has one, or everyone has a body, if you will, but they're dogs also, you know. Our information applies to all dogs on letting dogs stay natural, and even to other animals as well. A lot of animals, most all animals, you know, most all of the information we give under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles with letting dogs stay natural would apply to. So here's the thing, the edge seams of my tops, look at them, they're at the edges of my shoulders, okay? Much more so than this hoodie and its edge seams, okay? So now here, when I reach and when I move, there's this motion that happens where my shoulder motion happens if we're talking about the top. Look at this is what I mean. You know, the scapula now, when I reach across my body, isn't being pulled on by the clothing like it was with this hoodie, how the seam was like 3 or 4 inches down the side of my arm, or the back of my arm back here, right, off the edge of my shoulder. And what that does is just drop the collarbone. It pulls on the upper trapezius, it shortens the pectoral muscles, and it changes the position of your jaw. It changes your whole body, though, down to your feet, out to your fingertips, your whole body. Your whole body. It changes your whole body. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Anyway, I'm going to put this back on. But this is a good example of where tops should sit. It's cool to have in this video as well. When I say oversized tops and the collarbones, well, in the video now you also have a visual of properly fitting tops and the collarbones. This shirt's kind of unique. It's got rotated seams that I've done in the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification too. Even though it's my size, the sleeves don't quite go all the way down to, you know, right before my hands here at the wrists. But this maroon hoodie also has rotated seams, and I've done in the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification to it, you know, which the seams that come down and they rotate and pin them and stitch them, because we've just got machines that stitch our clothing, really robots that stitch our clothing. nowadays. And we didn't have that in the past. Everything was just sewn by hand. And then it started to be sewn by machines, but now we've got robots that do it, and that's even different because what they'll do is they'll take clothing. Hold on for just as long as I need you to hold on for me to be ready to continue to speak, because I'm the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, and I preach what I've practiced. So, this guy's going so fast. Wow. It could be an emergency. I don't know. I'm not trying to judge him. You never know unless you know, but not unless you do, though. So that's the thing, we don't know what we don't know. You can't be held accountable for what you don't know. That's what I mean. For so many years, I wore oversized clothing. I had no idea that my body was being so damaged. And so that's really what we do, is get out of chronic patterning and scar tissue here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. That's the point. That's the point of clothing. And In The Image Clothing Company is just allowing the body to work. So for so many years, I was wearing oversized clothing. This is a medium hoodie. I'd be wearing larges or extra larges, and I'm no taller now than I was then. And I wear smaller sizes. What I mean is, I was wearing things that were so oversized for so many years. And it's been a lot to get out of these chronic patternings myself, going before. And then that's how I can preach what I have practiced, right? As the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. But what I was saying is, they'll stitch clothing one direction, and then they'll flip the clothing around, but stitch it the same direction. And so you've got rotations on the clothing, One side's going back, let's say, one side's going forward, and vice versa, whatever it is. Maybe both sides are rotating one way or whatever, but the body has its own rotations, and so the body has to really just be allowed to reside in its neutral. Otherwise, I said neutral, just one neutral, just a stick, that's a good way to see it, because there is a center to gravity. Okay, there's a neutral to everything in the body. So In The Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification is huge. We've got a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here titled Rotated Clothing and Earth's Gravity. Okay, the right-handed world is that. Okay, there's a lot of things that go into the world being right-handed, but that's a big point. Anyway, I made a video yesterday titled The Importance of Even Undershirts. That's what I'm experiencing right now, is trying to have my undershirt be even with my overshirt. Okay, there you go. I felt something was not quite allowing my body to work. No joke. There's the little buttons here on this pink shirt that I have on under this maroon hoodie. And it was folded, that top button was folded down like that, and the material that it's sewn to sitting right on my collarbone. This video's title is Oversized Tops and the collarbones. But anything affecting the collarbones is affecting the collarbones. Okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. So, thank you for sticking around through this. This is awesome. I'm here forever. Oh my gosh, it's humbling. It'll be so fun. The poodles are a part of In The Image Clothing Company's team, and our team will always be great. We'll always just do good things to help everybody. Catch the phrasing. Everybody. Wow. Allowing the body to work. Shout out to the helicopter. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but the airport's like right over there. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it in the oversized top. I might wait for this car. Today is the 12th of December, 2025. Okay, I've said it, but I'm saying it again. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. This will be fun. That's the point. We're doing things that are very, very legitimately life-changing. We could say very, very impactful, but in all seriousness, Never Be the Same is an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, but so is Not a Walk in the Park. Once we do what we need to get out of these chronic patternings and scar tissue, and allow our bodies to work, if we're just intentional from there, it'll never be the same. But also, it's not a walk in the park, meaning it's not an easy task to get out of these patterns that have been built up in the body for years and years and years, okay? There's a lot to this. The way I whipped my head around so quick right then. I'm in an oversized top. I'm also in shoes that I don't really know how to explain what I mean by that. These shoes, they're like, man, they're really great in a lot of ways, but they just, I think a big point of it is they're so grippy. And this is a very grippy road, actually. I'm here, man. We're here. We're doing this. I'm in it for life, all right? In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, our second prerequisite, in addition to removing all tags from clothing, it's just the only way. Oh my gosh. You heard me. If you did, I was just talking about the shoes, and I said something like, I don't know exactly why I mentioned the shoes, because they're great in a lot of ways, and they're grippy, which is good, so why did I say something about it as if like I need to? It's because I haven't mentioned, as far as I know right now, our second prerequisite in this yet. And that's God's way of just kind of like nudging me, like, hey, think about those shoes. As I'm wrapping this up, I need to, where I can, if and when I need to, mention both prerequisites. I mean, that's why they're prerequisites. And I haven't said it yet. This is how God works. Well, God works the way God works. We discuss Jesus Christ as he says that he is. But this is what I mean. This is a first-hand personal experience documented under the gift of video on God speaking truly. I was brought awareness to my boots to get me to realize that I haven't said that In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is one of our two prerequisites under In the Image Clothing Company to not alter the body in addition to where clothing sits. We've just got ropes we're weaving across the top of the feet. There's bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles in the feet that grip those arches, and there's only one way the feet are shaped. I mean, I referenced videos in this that talk about the feet, the importance of zero-drop shoes, the term, right? That's a video as well under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, just keeping our feet flat on the ground. But this is the point with the feet, is there's only one way they could ever work. And the top of the feet's half of their function. We can talk about the soles of the shoes, and that's great, because I just did. The importance of zero-drop shoes, that's the sole, okay? Just being flat on the ground, even from front to back. But then what we do have as well is half of the function of the foot, which is lifting the toes. Okay, dorsiflexion is lifting the toes, plantar flexion is pointing them. And so half of the foot's function is lifting the toes off the ground, right? The importance of even ankle flexion, well, we push off the ground, but we also lift our feet up off the ground to step so that we can then push off the ground again. We just have half of the function being the top of the shoes, essentially. Okay? If we have lacing, just not allowing the top of the upper of our shoes be shaped the way that the top of our feet are, when our feet are just having half of their function from the top of them, then we won't be able to have our feet work properly. I'm so grateful that I noticed how grippy the bottom of my shoes felt on the asphalt here to remember to say this. Okay? In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, found wherever you find us in many places. Okay? Because there truly is only one way the feet work. We've got different length toes. We just roll evenly off the ends of our different length toes, and so that means the feet kind of roll in. There's just only one way the human body could ever work. No opinion. We just got bones connecting together, and they only do that the way they do that. All right? It is what it is, bro. That's what I mean. No opinion, no claim, no new information. Like I say, you don't have to believe us because it's true if it's true. We don't have some kind of thing to get you on board with. You don't have to care about clothing, but you're wearing it. Right? I mean, you see what I mean? See what I mean? Y'all see what I mean, right? Yeah, you see what I mean? Ideally, and that's the reason I'm making these videos. And I really do discuss it in depth, okay? So there's more that I could say on the collarbone positioning and angles and things, and certain things that are going into them not being able to be normal. But a big part of it's just oversized clothing. You know, in this right-handed world, oversized clothing will fall to our dominant side. You're just using your right arm for things, and guess what? Gravity, okay? Collarbone's position is just directly determined by your tops. The importance of tops in general. That's a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. We just talk about things. We just, you know, deepen and further our explanations of things as we explain the things we explain, you see? And you see it if you look at our hundreds and hundreds of videos as of today's date alone, you know, and we'll just always continue to keep making videos as, when, and where we do. And where we do it will so commonly be in nature. Okay, I mean, that's the point, is getting out here. It's so beautiful, so cool. So many cars that have gone by. You know, it is what it is, bro. And that's what it is, so thank you.